Hi, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to get the best out of a particular source, whether that's a disc player or a media streamer, but I'll be mainly concentrating on the connections and how to set it up properly. But first, let's take a look at the Blu-ray player. Now we're going to actually connect everything up so that we can use the Blu-ray player to play Blu-rays and DVDs and be a completely standalone CD player as well. So the first connection we're going to concentrate on is the actual HDMI connection. Now this will cover us for both picture and sound for Blu-ray players and DVD players. But then I'm going to use the digital analog output to actually cover us for CD playback, so we can use the Blu-ray player as a CD transport. Now on the back of the 626 we also need to make the relevant connections, so I'm going to plug the HDMI into HDMI 2, which is the BD DVD player, which makes perfect sense, and then I'm also going to connect the optical input into the TV CD labelled input. This optical can be assigned to any of the inputs on the 626. There is a specific reason why I'm actually going to use the CD inputs, and I'll explain that a little bit later on. Now the next stage of the process is actually making sure that all of the outputs within the Blu-ray player are actually set correctly. So we're going to move down to settings, and our first option is audio video settings. So we're going to press enter, go in here and actually make our selections. Now the video resolution is pretty much a given. I would leave it on automatic, which means if the disc is outputting 1080p 24, so will the machine. The only time that you wouldn't do this is if your screen doesn't actually support 1080p 24 or 1080p. If it's only HD ready, then you can select 1080i or 720p. Now with this machine, which is the BD309, we have a secondary audio option. Now to get the high definition audio codecs, you need to make sure that the secondary audio is actually turned off. This will enable the high def soundtrack to pass through to the AV receiver. Now we also need to set the HDMI connection as the physical output for the sound, and this is done here in the audio out selection page. Now once you've actually pressed enter, the page is then going to change to ask you if you want to output bitstream or PCM. Some machines will ask you the same question in a slightly different way, but the most important thing to remember is you have to select bitstream. It is the only way the lossless audio tracks from DTS and Dolby are actually passed directly to the AV receiver for decoding. You'll also notice on this particular page that after we've made these selections, the digital audio output, which is the optical out, has defaulted to PCM 2 channel, and this is going to be really handy for us later on CD playback. And all we need to do is to confirm these settings and make one more change within the Blu-ray player, and then we're done and we can move on to the AV receiver. Now that one more change is really quite important, and it's to do with the HDMI control or CEC. Now you need to turn this off if you want your Blu-ray player to act as a multiple source device, and when I say that I mean Blu-ray player and CD player. Now the HDMI control is really good for the whole automation of a process, but it will give you undesired results when you want to use your Blu-ray player as a CD player, because these communications are still going to happen and force the amp to switch over and the TV to switch on if it's off. And now we're going to turn our attention to the 626. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that the correct physical connections are to the right labels. So I'm going to go into the HDMI settings and just make sure that the HDMI 2 is set correctly. And now I'm going to move down to the digital audio input and make sure that the optical connection is actually assigned to the CD. And now that's done, move to the source setup on the Blu-ray input and make sure that the audio is being assigned to the HDMI, and that's all it's going to see. But here I've switched the input to TV CD and I've selected optical. This means when I press the CD input button, it's going to see the audio from the optical connection, and when I press the Blu-ray button input, it's going to see the audio only from the HDMI. So with the configuration that we've actually done now, on the Blu-ray input, You can sit down and watch your Blu-rays and TV series as you normally would. And we've got text here up on screen. And I've pressed the info button and it's come up with Dolby True HD, 5.1 signal going in, and then off out to all your speakers. Now also it's showing 1080p 24, that's the video signal. Now it's all well and good for DVD and Blu-ray, but you want to get the best out of your CD as well. So now if we actually put a CD into the Blu-ray player, we can switch inputs. So I now have put a CD into play and I've switched my input over to TV CD, as you can see on screen. But what the TV CD input will do, it will use the last video input used if you want to use a TV screen. But the benefit of this system is, one, you're using the optical connection for better sound for the CD player, and two, you can switch the TV off. So now you've got a CD player with a stereo amplifier, and that's all that's running. Well, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.